Hey, everybody, I'm Hollywood Hurd.
I'm Jim Young.
And this is Eric Tansey, and we are on
The Smoked Debrief.
The Smoked Debrief.
Yes. Eric has no idea what he's in for, but he's about to learn. Jim, what are we smoking today with Eric?
Today, Hollywood, we have got a punch. I think they screwed up on my information. It's a punch rare Corojo, but what it gave me was a punch golden era. So maybe it is that. I don't know. Honduran puros consist of primarily aged Corojo tobacco that is grown in the fertile Jamastran Valley region of Honduras. The blend for the golden era consists of a Honduran Corojo wrapper, Honduran Havana seed Corojo binder, and a combination of Honduro Habano and Corojo long fillers. Corojo tobacco is prized for its oily sheen, deep brown color, barely visible veins. We're like almost in a porn now, and uniquely rich flavor. Unfortunately, I don't want to hear that word when you're talking about a cigar. This exquisite tobacco is susceptible to blue mold disease. Oh, wait. So, don't smoke that. The difficult task of growing all the tobacco for punch golden era cigars was given to famed master blender Christian Iroa, who has profound love for the craft.
So we all know each other because Jim and I became buddies whenever we did some commercials for his coffee shop, Salvation Coffee. Eric Tansey is good friends with Nick Palmisano, who helps you write your book.
Hey, Nick.
And all three of us starred in the hit television series Office Joe. Jim played the racist coffee shop owner. Eric plays
Got him.
Eric plays the disgruntled, disgraced police officer.
Was that really acting?
I don't know. That was,
Like, I was just myself.
And I play a grumpy old bastard, so I don't think any of us were really acting.
I don't think we acted.
It's
I think
like,
we all just
there
showed
was
up.
no acting involved. It's just show up and be yourself. But we brought Eric on today because of his new book, Pig Latin, which tells the story of his illustrious career with the Raleigh Police Department.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard, like, you can tell some stories. And I'm ready.
So talk about how the book came to be, Eric.
Well, I mean, the short form or long form?
Long
The
form.
long form, I wrote, this is a funny story, but I wrote a murder report. And I was a supplement for a homicide report. And basically it would work is if you were like the cop that showed up on a homicide and you were the detective and you're like, there's a dead person and blah, blah, blah. You would write a really long report. You would write like on this date and time, the weather was this. I walked in from the east. I came in through the front door. And it would just be this very, very in-depth report of the homicide. And then all the other cops that show up would write what's called a supplement. And a supplement would just be like, you don't have to do all that detail. It'd just be like on this date and time, I met up with, Hollywood Hurd and this is what I saw. And I put up crime scene tape, blah, blah, blah. So I wrote this small supplement and I thought it's just a supplement, a couple of, a paragraph. So not a big deal. Well, the homicide ended up going to trial and my supplement was a big deal. And so the jury got a copy of my supplement and nobody had edited that supplement.
Oh, no.
And so everybody was, my lieutenant at the time, they were all very embarrassed because they're like, yo, do you not know the difference between there, and there? Like, or where and where? Like, do you not know what punctuation even is? Do you know what a comma is? And so it was really embarrassing and shameful. And so I got shamed and made fun of. And I was like, well, I'm not going to do that again. So what I started to do after that was I would write my reports and I would email them to my wife and have her edit them because she's got a degree. She's got a master's degree in literature. So she's really good at this stuff. So about 6 months later, this detective walks in. He's like, and I'm typing. And he's like, Tansey. And I was like, hey, detective, how are you doing? What brings you out to the Southeast District these days, And he was like, just the man I wanted to see, actually. I had a question about this case. I was like, yeah, what you got? And he's like, by the way, your writing has gotten exponentially better. Are you going to Wake Tech, or like, what are you doing widening classes online? And I said, well, actually what I'm doing is I'm emailing my wife the reports and she's editing them. And he's like, yeah, right. Oh God, that would be crazy, wouldn't it? And I was like, I mean, I don't know if it's crazy or not, but that's what she does. And he was like, dude, no, you're not serious, right? And I was like, yeah, I'm serious. Like, he's like, why would you tell me that? And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, you can't do that. And I was like, what do you mean you can't do that? And he was like, oh, this is, So it ended up being a big deal. They had to call the DA's office. They had to figure out which cases were going to trial. And they had to drop some cases. And it was a big mess because I guess your wife cannot edit your reports. Because I was stupid and trying to do the right thing, my punishment was, you have to be a better typer. Like, you have to be a better writer, like now. And you have to do it on your own. And so one of the sergeants suggested that I go home and write every night. And I send him what I wrote and he would edit it. And so I began to basically journal about my night, or about my day as a cop. And it was very depressing and not very good on my mental health, because you're living these traumatic incidents. You're writing a report about the traumatic incident.
Reliving them again.
Then you're going home and your kids and your wife are sleeping. You're still in that night shift routine. And now you're sitting up with a bottle of whiskey and writing the same depressing shit. So I decided I was going to start writing the funnier stuff and actually kind of journal. And then as I started writing, I thought, well, I want this to be for my kids, because they need to know how hard it is to be a cop, and how hard it is to kind of manage maturity and writing reports and just doing all the things. And so I was going to be very, very honest, because I knew my kids were probably going to suffer the same hyperactivity that I suffer from, and the ADHD that I think is my superpower, but some people see it as a flaw. But I wanted to write it out there. And later on in life, I opened up my own distillery after I left policing, and I would sit in front of these stills for 10 hours, and I decided to take all those journal stories and put them into one long story. My wife got a hold of them and looked at them, said it was the funniest thing she'd ever read, and said I should do something with them. I started to share them with, networking friends, and through some mutual friend, it made it over to Nick. Nick said, so you've written a comedy? And I said, yeah. And he's like, well, I'll tell you right now, there's no money in comedies. Comedy books don't sell very well. It's a very hard genre to get in, but the police stories has me intrigued. I'm going to give you 5 paragraphs and I'll let you know kind of what I think. I was like, that's all I ask. So I emailed it to him. He called me back that Sunday. I think I emailed it to him like on a Thursday. And he called me on Sunday. I was at the pool and he said, I'm 5 chapters in and I've handed it off to my wife. This is the funniest stuff I've ever read. And I think you really have something here. What do you want to do with this book? And then Nick, started to work with me and find me editors. And he kind of just sat down and took, because I wasn't a good writer. Nick will say I'm a good writer. I'm just not a good writer.
But you're a great storyteller.
Yeah.
That's what you are.
Yeah. And so he took what I had written, which is mainly in report form, or like almost like a college thesis type form. Like, I showed up on this date and there was a dead man with his head blown off, very raw, and very funny, because it was literally my thoughts.
Yeah.
Like, I literally never thought this would be a book. I literally was just journaling, and I was like, I lost the foot chase today, and I thought, that motherfucker, if I ever see him again, I'll fucking, do this, and that. And I would just write that, you know what I'm saying? And that became very funny. And so what Nick did was made that look just beautiful. And I think we have a one-of-a-kind book. And if you go and you look at the reviews on Goodreads, or if you look at the reviews on Amazon, I mean, the book is very powerful and it's changing people's hearts and minds. It humanizes the badge. And I think why the book is doing so well is just because it's literally just an honest journal of what it's like to be a cop. And being a cop is the greatest. It's like having tickets to the greatest show on earth. Every cop, every EMT, every EMS, I would say that emergency room technicians as well, they have the greatest stories. Just nobody's been able to really articulate them in a way that Nick and I did in Pig Latin.
One of the things you did, though, that, is in life, there's always nemesis that are always fucking with you, always making your life more difficult. And sometimes it makes sense. Rules are rules for a reason. But there was also a couple of people in the book, a police chief and maybe a deputy police chief. You didn't call her that. You called her the
Queen Bee.
Queen Bee.
Mm-hmm.
That really showed the bureaucracy and the bullshit that was involved in being a police officer. And you pointed that out, but you didn't beat it over the head with a stick. You didn't say, woe is me. This is why my life's so miserable. You said, these people are doing this. It's causing this result. And then you moved on. And that kept it from being a negative story about a negative influence in your life. You know what I mean? And that was very well done. And you didn't walk around beating everybody up that crossed you or that didn't agree with you with a stick. And that made the book so enjoyable to read, because you didn't have all this angst of woe is me, this is why this is happening, my life's miserable because this. You dealt with everybody in a kind of an honest and an open way without being over the top about it.
It's
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's funny that you brought up. It's so funny you brought up the Queen Bee and you're referring to the Thirsty Lieutenants chapter,
yes.
Which was just one chapter, but man, that is so many people's favorite chapter of the book. Which it's funny because it was never like I said, this was never supposed to be a book. But I remember when I wrote Thirsty Lieutenants, I was very frustrated at that project.
Right.
And so I went home and I journaled about it, and that was the first journal thing that I actually went and rewrote like 5 or 6 times because it felt so good. But I really wanted to articulate, it's like one of those stories that's so good that the only thing that you can do is tell it wrong. You know what I mean?
No.
You can't really lie
exactly.
about that story. It's so true. The only thing that you can do is just not articulate it well enough. And so that was the one story that I wrote probably 5 or 6 times before I gave it to Nick, before Nick ever saw this. And Nick said by the time he got to that chapter, he said, like, literally, this is where you became a writer. And
that's
he
right.
didn't know that one chapter was literally the one chapter that I tried to make an actual chapter of a book. Like, I just imagined, like,
right.
in my journal, like, I want this. I want somebody to read this. And I want it to be perfect. I want them to know and to feel. And when I did the legal read, which was, I don't know how many hours. It was like 4 hours a day for 5 or 6 days that you sit down with a lawyer and go over everything in the book. And he called me on the Saturday and he was like, dude, I've never done this before. I've never really reached out to anybody. This has nothing to do with Simon Schuster. I'm off the clock, blah, blah. He's like, but I just wanted to let you know that, like, the Thirsty Lieutenants chapter was one of the best chapters of a book I've ever read. And he was like,
that's cool. You get that encouragement
the
whole time.
Yeah. And so,
because even though you didn't like what you were doing, at the end you were like, I learned this. Mm-hmm. And this was a positive thing. Even though it was a negative experience for you, you still were cool enough to say, all right, it all wasn't totally fucked up. There were some good things about this that I did learn.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, like, that was kind of, when you're a guy like me, and it's hard to articulate to people why I'm different. People think I have like a bad self-esteem. Some of the reviews have said, like, this guy needs to get his mental health checked. Like, I hope he finds, he feels better about himself, or he makes fun of himself too much. And in my brain, I'm not really making fun of myself or being down on myself. I'm being honest about myself or how I perceive myself. And I think it's a very fair assessment of myself. And when you're a guy like me who legit starts lower than everybody else, my education is lower than a lot of people's because I did not pay attention in school. I did not learn the things I probably should have learned in school. So, like, yeah, I'm not a very good writer. I'm also not very good at math at all. And so I'm always trying to play catch up in a lot of things that I do. And so when I went through the police department, I was so thankful and so proud that I graduated the academy because it was so hard for me. That was the first time I was in this like college setting, had to study, had to focus. I wasn't going to become a cop by just being a rock.
By just showing up.
By just showing up. Like in the military, or like when I was going through the Green Beret program, one of the things that I could count on was like, I know I can outrun most people and I can carry heavy shit for an extremely, like people say, can I say retard strength?
Oh yeah. Dude, there's no filter here.
Some people would joke that I have a retard strength, like I have an ability, but in the academy, I couldn't do that, right? I couldn't like use my strength. I had to, you had to pass the test and the quizzes and
Mongo like candy.
Yeah, it's so tough. And so I was so proud that I had done that, like that I had proven to myself that I could sit in a classroom environment for however many months, 6 months, 8 months, whatever it was, focus, pass the test, and become a cop, that I was so proud to be there. I was like a fly on the wall because everybody else, I felt, was smarter than me, was better than me on paper. And so I was really kind of spent my career watching kind of what other people do and then trying to fit in with everybody else. But I never had an agenda to be a canine cop. I never had an agenda to be a detective. And all those jobs in a police department, they're far and few between. So everybody's trying to politic their way to get these positions. And so everybody kind of has enemies. And I never had that because I was just so damn happy to be a street cop that I was able to just kind of like watch everybody else and then write my observations and really all my fuck ups. Because if you read read the book, you know that like, this book is not about me being a hero of any way, shape, or form. This book is about really just all the fuck ups, losing foot chases, getting lost on car chases, arresting the wrong person, or taking somebody and helping
getting your ass beat with your mom sitting in the front seat of your police car,
ass beat over and over again, breaking bones. And, the whole thing is really just the most honest portrayal of what it's really like.
I just want to say something real quick, Eric, because I know you're not saying this because of the current political climate on the social media. You were not a Green Beret.
No,
you went through a lot of Green Beret training.
Yes.
But then you got out because your wife didn't want you to be in the military, right?
Right. Well, I mean,
Girlfriend.
No, and I got in trouble. So, and it's in the book. It's at the very beginning of the book.
I know that. I just want.
Yeah. No, I have no problem. I've been telling that story for many years. I spent about 7 years in the military. 4 of those years I was in the special operations pipeline. 1 year of that I was attached to a Green Beret unit overseas. So, for 5 years out of my 7, I was in special operations. I did attend the Special Forces qualification course. I was selected at Special Forces Assessment Selection. I graduated SEER, Survival, Evasion, Escape, and Resistance. Levels 1, 2, and 3, or A, B, and C, however you want to talk about it, and many other schools. And then in language school, I was living with a group of guys who were defrauding the government, and we got called into a CID investigation. I was not guilty, but I wasn't able to continue language school because of the investigation.
That wasn't the Fayetteville Mafia, was it?
No, but it is a rather infamous story that actually there was a sergeant major. I don't know how much detail I should give, but I think he's a sergeant major in 19th Group, and he works with Black Rifle Coffee. But I had posted a picture of me with an ODA, and I had written a blurb about, how I didn't make it or whatever. And this sergeant major was like, "Hey, I was in at the time. I knew you. I knew all the guys that you were with at the time, and everybody had stellar things to say about you. And in my book, you're blah, blah, blah." It was a very, I don't know if he even knew that it would be that touching for me, but that was all I needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To know that like I don't need a Green Beret or a long tab. As long as the guys that I was with think that I was honorable, that's really
That's
cool.
What has been the best comments that you've got that have made you think that, well, I did a good thing here?
I like the ones from the civilians where they're like, I guess I just never knew what police went through on a day to day. Like I always think that's a really nice thing to hear. But I've had a 25-year canine cop who's actually in the book reach out to me and said when he read the book that he was laughing and then he began to cry and his cry became a weep and it ended with him crying into his wife's shoulder. And he said that it was 25 years of therapy came out.
Oh, bro, that's awesome.
About the 15th chapter of this book.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And he's in the book, and that was kind of like, when you write a book, your big fear is like, how are the people that
were there with me are going to think? What are they going to think about this?
Yeah, and that's another great part about the book. I was just on a podcast with my training officer, Jace.
With Chase?
Chase. And so the woman asked, and she's got a very big podcast. It's called On Being a Police Officer, and her name is Abby Ellsworth. She's a journalist, published author. She covered the BLM riots in Seattle, Washington,
right.
And stuff. And she asked Jace very directly, like, were some of the stories exaggerated? Or which part of the stories do you think were embellished? Blah blah blah. And so Jace was my training officer, and he doesn't have any real reason to back me up. I haven't seen the guy in 8 or 9 years. You know what I mean? Like, we're not buddies. We are now, but we weren't, we're not like super close friends. So he has no reason to lie for me or anything like that. He's not getting any money or anything. And so I didn't know how he was going to react.
Wow.
And he said, he goes,
and this is right on the air that she's asking him this.
Yeah. And he's like, I feel like he exaggerated the under exaggeration, if that makes sense. He said that, that I didn't put key details in that make the stories even crazier. And she was like, what? And he was like, I mean, yeah. It's like, he didn't even tell the story about driving this guy's mom around the city, while her son's dead. Like, I've totally forgot that story. And it was a crazy story. And he was like, you didn't tell the part where this guy actually shit himself when Eric was dealing with him. And I was like, I forgot that guy shit himself. Like, these stories are already crazy. And then he's adding these little parts to the story that they didn't miss it. So he said that he felt like he wishes I would have reached out because, he remembers these other key details that I didn't remember. And that felt really good because, like I said, I wrote these in the moment and I didn't write them. I
think it's better that you didn't collaborate because that would have created an avalanche of everybody's recollections.
Yeah.
And everybody changing the perspective of the story, not maybe on purpose, but because of their recollection.
Right.
So, this is your recollection. I think it's much better. Is there a story that you didn't tell now that you look back and think, oh, I should have told that story?
Wow. So now that most of the cops on the squad have read the book, we compiled a list. Actually, this last week, my wife and I really sat down and compiled a list. And there were I think it was 13 stories that we were like, how in the frick did I not put those in the book? Like, what was I thinking? There were 3 of those stories in the book that the editors took out. Really funny stories too. It's left-wing, politics. It's too much of a narrative for them. Even though it's 100% true and it really happened, they were like, we don't want the world to know that actually happens or that's funny. You shouldn't laugh at that, even though it's absolutely hilarious. It's just not funny to them. But yeah, there was 13 stories that easily should have made the book and didn't.
That could be book 2.
We're thinking about that.
When you get that FU money from this one.
Yeah, I don't know if authors get it.
What I want to know is, did you take special language courses to do your accents?
No.
That was bold in the Audible book. That was bold. I loved it.
That was
can't
just
wait. I've got to get the Audible.
Yeah, you've got to because
it's great when the person who wrote the book does the voice, the narration. It's just.
Them ain't mine.
It's so good.
So ridiculous.
Motherfucker fought in my goddamn olives.
Yeah.
Just all the voices. But that was fun because I had to work with 4-time Grammy nominee Travis Tunn and Telly Award winner.
Those are the ones that helped you do the audiobook?
And Noel, he was in Washington with Neil deGrasse Tyson and William Shatner. And then he flew from that audiobook or audio podcast, whatever they were doing, to North Carolina to start on mine. And so he's showing me these behind the scene videos of William Shatner and Neil deGrasse Tyson arguing with each other, and it was so surreal. And then that made me really nervous. And then I get into the booth and then I start being theatric and they stop everything. And they're like, okay, we're going to direct this. And I was like, am I that bad? And he was like, no, trust me. We're going to get a real director in here and we're going to capitalize on this. And then cool. So I was pretty insecure. And he was like, I did Hillary Clinton's book. And he's like, Hillary Clinton doesn't do any voices. It's a different kind of good. He's like, you need to you do what you're doing. And it's what you're doing is very difficult. And that's why we're making you do it over and over again. But don't feel like you're fucking this up. Because that's what I kept doing. I was like, guys, I'm not good at this. I'm so sorry. Why don't we just hire somebody else to do this? And they're like, no, listen. What we're making you do, we don't make other people do. But what you're doing
is great.
And that's why
it's more genuine too. It's to have the person that did the book.
And let's face it, when you tell the stories, you do it that way anyway.
Yeah, I've always. I don't know why. I don't know where I became a great storyteller, but.
Do you think that? I know you commented your self-esteem issues and I guess your quirkiness. Do you think if you didn't have that this would be happening?
No. So if you read a lot of military books,
what I mean?
I think I know what you're talking about. I will just say this. A lot of times I would read military books. I always, even at a young age, because I didn't really read, I read books more at a young age than I did when I was older. But I just remember just reading one story in particular, and I just thought the author was so, and I mean, by the way, I was like 14. And I just was like, God, this guy is so obsessed with himself. And this, you know, all these stories are, I mean, they're kind of cool stories, but like, hasn't anybody ever told him that, like, not to brag, not to be boastful? And so I always kind of thought that being an author and telling your own story was a negative thing because, you know, it's cloutful or it's disrespect. You know, the way they talk about people is disrespectful. And, you know, just because you have the power of a pen doesn't mean you need to wield that in a negative way.
Right. You did not superhero yourself.
No, and that's why.
And that's why the first part of the book, where you're, you know, your year 1, 2, 3, as being a police officer, that's why it's so good, because it's obvious from when you're telling the story, Eric, that you're just trying to be the best police officer you can. The ridiculous things that you do, like you didn't go to the felon's house on Sunday to see if he was there because you were trying to make yourself great. You were trying to make everybody else say, this guy is with us. He's trying to help us. He wants to, you know, and that was so obvious. And then when Red came along and she started having the same problems you did because she was a high achiever just like you, not because she was trying to be great, because she was just trying to fit in. It was a great transition to you from being that way to you trying to be a mentor.
Yeah. You know, I had the book signing this last week, and lieutenants and some of my sergeants and stuff were there. And,
oh, really?
Yeah, it was really cool.
Where was it at?
It was at Clayton Rock's music school and bar in downtown Clayton. And
they drove down there.
Yeah, they drove down there.
Oh, bro, that's awesome.
That was really cool because I didn't expect any of them to show up, honestly. And then like Bruno from the book was there. Thor was there.
Now, had they read it already? Or
yes. Yeah.
Or they had?
Mm-hmm, yeah. So I think everybody was like like once they found out that Eric wrote a book, it was kind of like this. Oh,
we got to read this.
Eric wrote a book?
Yeah. Like, what's this going to be about? Like, because he was a crazy person, you know. But the one lieutenant would say he became a deputy chief later on in life, and before he retired, he became the deputy chief of all of Raleigh. And he said, you know, that era of policing was the best that Raleigh had. And the squad that we were on, Southeast D Squad, everybody that's read the book from the downtown district or from the North District, they've all messaged me like, man, that squad was epic. I mean, it was legendary. Like when you were when I was in the academy, Southeast D Squad was all anybody talked about. And it was because you had Sirius and you had Rich. And it was really the dream team. Like these guys, and now they're DEA, ATF,
is that right?
Yeah, all those guys that form that own squad,
right.
Like they are now in charge of career crime. I think one of those guys, there was an FBI bust down in Georgia where like a Raleigh DA was like kidnapped. Like her dad was kidnapped from the gang members. I don't know if you guys remember that.
No.
Yeah, crazy story. Google it. So I believe it was a DA. I might be wrong on the DA. Could have been just like a regular attorney or something. Right. But there was a high profile gang case in Raleigh. And I think this was like 6 or 7 years ago. But the head gang people from Atlanta came up to Raleigh to kidnap her, but she wasn't home and her dad was in town visiting.
Oh my God.
So they kidnapped him from Raleigh, North Carolina, and take him all the way to Atlanta. Well, our FBI HRT, everything, they took over a whole block. Like aircraft came over, they like flashbang like a whole block, and went in and did this like HRT recovery of her dad. And one of those cops in the book was actually involved in that. So those guys were all, you know, top of the class then. And, you know, even after the book, they're still the top of the game. Yeah. So being on that squad from Red and I's perspectives were, you know, we were two people. She was a captain of a basketball team and, you know, had her jersey retired at like Campbell University, or it's hanging in the rafters, whatever you call it. I don't sports, but her jersey's hanging in the rafters. And, you know, so she wanted to prove herself to the squad. But like me, I came to the squad with this like all the people were like, well, he was special forces, even though I was in special forces. they made it out like I was some kind of like Delta Force operator or something.
Right.
And so they had all these high expectations. Same with her. She was dating a detective at the time. She's beautiful, tall, red hair, super good shape, athlete. And so there was a lot of expectation for her. And so I think both her and I had to show up and prove ourselves. And I think we both had the attitude of like, I know that you have expectations of us, but we don't have expectations of ourselves. We just want to be
because you've never been police officers before. It's a whole different thing.
Right. And I think their attitudes were like, oh, you're here and you're kind of fucking up our routine. You think you're hot shit and we're going to show you that you're not. When we both were like, no, we know we're not.
Right.
We don't need
everything we're doing is because we're trying to help. We're trying to be great teammates.
Yeah. And so that was tough, but it made us, like I said, D Squad was the best squad. That was the best era of policing in the city. And it was, it couldn't have happened. I always make the joke. They say, don't complain about being a dragon slayer in a time that dragons exists, and so it's looking back on it. It's like hard to complain about wielding the power that we wielded in a time when
it was necessary.
It was necessary. And so unfortunately, Ferguson happened and then George Floyd happened and the city lost all that gusto. And really the war on crime took over. Gentrification kind of won. Now, if you drive down to the Southeast District, it's not so much the hood as it is rich white people that have moved into the hood. And the price of everything has gone up. The businesses are not black-owned businesses anymore. They're more white-owned businesses. And the crime is perceived to have gone down, but it's not because you helped out.
It's just moved, right?
It just moved. It moved down towards Nightdale or to other parts of the city. So a very superficial fix on something that I believe probably could have been fixed and really been something that black people could have been proud of in their communities. I said in the book, I don't understand how such a small block, not one mayor, not one chief, not one governor, not one activist, nobody in 50 years, you couldn't change 15 blocks of the city? Or is it you just don't want to? Because I feel like there's enough money that you could just fix it.
There's too much visibility. If I go down here and try to fix this and I don't fix it, no, all the upper echelons and no matter what business, profession, career, they're always worried about their perception.
Yes.
And let's say I really honestly try to do something. I try to fix this 15 block area and I don't do it or I can't do it or I'm afraid to do it. Now I failed and now my career is fucked up.
Right now I'm not going to get voted.
That's right.
Whatever.
That's right.
And they play it safe. And it's crazy because there's like two big nonprofits that were there at the time. And everybody, like confidential informants would just rat on all the time. They'd be like, oh man, you can do whatever you want. They'll sign off on your community service. They'll do this, they'll do that. But they don't make you do it. The woman who did it hates white cops, hates white people. She was a thug, her kids were thugs. And she hid behind this nonprofit that was, not helping at all. And it was big. It's a big, now they did help. They did give out free clothes and stuff. But they also used it as a way to hide gang members, signing off on people's community services and stuff like that. And the city knew it, but they would never put an end to it. And it didn't matter what report you wrote or how many times you told your supervisors. Like that mission, that thing was never raided. It was never exposed. No media ever did anything to it, and it didn't do anything to make the town a better place. It was literally like if you're a gang member and you're too lazy to do your fucking laundry, you could just go there and get more laundry from her.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that the homeless bums were going in there. Matter of fact, if you were too homeless or too stinky, she'd run you off.
Insane.
How has your perception changed from before the book started selling to now about its acceptance?
I don't know. It's because we're so new. Like it's still like 2 weeks in,
right?
Still trying to feel it out. It's weird to talk about all your failures and like a lot of imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
a lot of imposter syndrome. It's like you just wrote a whole book about all your fuck ups, but now like people bring you on as a subject matter expert. And I have to like remind everybody, it's like, I'm not a subject matter expert on any of this.
Well, you are because you fucked up a bunch, see?
Yeah.
I mean,
I know the wrong way to do it.
There's no better way to learn how to be better than to make mistakes. Even in, you know, in my filmmaking stuff.
Yeah.
I learn more from my mistakes than from when I do things right.
Right.
You know, you go out there and you do an interview and you look at the camera and you realize, oh, you've been shooting this interview for 10 minutes and you didn't roll the camera.
Oh, that's the worst.
You know?
Or the mic's not on.
Or the mic's not. So, you know, but then you don't do that again. You know, you fuck up something else. But still, it makes you better at who you are. So even though you were fucking up, it was making you a better police officer in the long run.
It was, yeah. I mean, and definitely we were learning from mistakes. But yeah, my perception now, it's like, yeah, I'm still the same person. Like, I'm taking my kids skateboarding today. I'm still homeschool. I mean, I'm going on a lot of podcasts and got to do a celebrity golf tournament last weekend, which was really cool because they had me listed as a celebrity. I got to stay in the big celebrity house with all the real celebrities. So that's crazy, right? Well, that was funny because it's a celebrity golf tournament and they've got you listed as a celebrity. Yeah. And so they take these like sergeant majors and these wounded veterans and they pair them up with a celebrity to golf with for the day. Yeah. And I'm like, well, dude, my team's fucked because like, one, I'm not a real celebrity.
We got Tansey.
And I'm not a golfer.
Tansey's our celebrity.
So like those guys got the shaft all the way around, pun intended. But it's really cool. But like, I don't know, man. You know, now that it's there's talks about it becoming a TV series or a movie, the rights have changed ownership, the media rights of the book.
Well, that's great.
Have changed ownership, so we'll see what happens with that. But at the end of the day, I'm just glad that I got to tell the story that my friends deserve have told. And when you read the book, Rich and Sirius and Spoon and Bruno and Red and Thor, like I really feel like this is something that they can show their kids to say like, hey, look what Dad was, right? Like, I don't think any of the people that are in this book, except for Queen Bee, you know, are going to feel like, you know, that they can't share this with their loved ones.
So let's talk about your wife.
Okay.
And how she made this possible and helped you with your, you know, being a police officer. And because I know that she's like your rock, you know, from the way you talk about it. So would this book been possible without her, do you think?
Oh, no. Luckily for me, I married probably the most encouraging wife of all time. I hate seeing other people's, because I own the bar, the rum bar and distillery. And so, I mean, I hated so many people sit down at the bar and they're like, man, my wife's a bitch, or my husband's a dick, or like my husband's lucky to get sex once a week or once a month, you know, all this like negativity towards their partner. And it makes me feel inside terrible. Like it's cringe. Yeah. It's almost like they're using the N-word. And that's how it makes me feel. Like, I'm like, ooh, because my wife is so encouraging. She's never said anything negative about me. She's never said anything negative to me. She's always been very uplifting, positive. She always, like, we've been through some hard times, you know, opened up a distillery during COVID, hard times, no money, hard times, like no Christmas presents, hard times. And she's always found a way to like calm me down. Like, I believe in you, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, when she, as a person who reads 3 or 4 books a week.
Really?
Oh, yes. Like she reads, like if you call her right now, she probably has her phone because we're an hour and a half away and I've got my 3 sons with me. We have 5 kids together. 1 wife, 5 kids. She will not have her phone for like 3 days. And then we can't find it because it's dead. And then we have to like employ all the kids to like find this phone. Like it could be in the car, it could be in the hamper, it could be, who knows, you know, because she just doesn't do phones. She reads a lot. So when she wanted to read what I was writing, I was kind of like, oh no. And it was hard because when she came out of the room, when she read the book for the first time, when she came out of the room, she was in there for like 2 hours. And she came out of the room and she was crying. And she gave me a really big hug. But she's always so encouraging that it's like,
that didn't, what does this really mean?
Is it good? Is it, I mean, because I feel like she's going to love it no matter what, because just my wife genuinely is, you know, she thinks the world of me, which is crazy to me still to this day.
What the heck?
I know, right? Like, I'm just like, when is she going to figure it out, dude? Like, it's been 15 years that we've been together. It's like, when is she going to wake up? She's going to be like, actually, this guy's kind of an idiot. But, but no, yeah. And so but after that moment, she would not let off the gas. she was like,
you were doing the book.
You got to do this book. Like people have to know these stories. Like you've got to get out there. So she was the one kind of networking in, as shy of a person as she is, to see her telling other people about the book, like made me think, okay, well, if she's coming out of her shell to tell people that I wrote this book, and having me email it to Jesse Wiseman and Ross Patterson and some of these bigger writers and Hollywood actresses and such, you know, I wasn't going to do it, you know, and I'll talk to anybody.
Yeah.
But I would still be like, I'm not going to send my book to Nick Palmisano.
Yeah.
Who, you know, that he's too important. You know, I'm not going to try to talk to Hollywood Herd.
Don't tell Nick that.
I'm not going to talk. Yeah. But she was like, I'll do it for you. And so
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So a story you didn't tell in the book is how you ended up not being in the military and becoming a police officer. Because she didn't want to be with someone in the military. Is that right?
Yeah.
So let's tell that story, because it wasn't in the book, right?
I mean, like loosely it's in the book. It's like one sentence.
But tell the story, because and the boyfriend.
I know what story you're on. It's embarrassing for me.
It's a great story.
It's a terrible story. So I meet my wife at a wedding, and it's a Green Beret wedding. So it's like all Green Berets, but and by the way, which is a story I haven't told yet either. But at this wedding, I'm one of the groomsmen. She's one of the bridesmaids. She was living in France at the time. I meet her on the phone because she's planning the wedding and I'm planning the wedding here in the States. So we had to talk on the phone, but I didn't know what she looked like. And she was
that's how you met her. Because she was
I talked to her on the phone like twice. I wouldn't have known her name. So I don't know if that counts. Like one time I was at a bar in Blowing Rock and she was like, hey, I'm going to fly in from here. Have you contacted this person about, meeting? Do we have plane tickets for this person? Does this person know? And we had those kind of conversations, but I didn't know her name. Like I didn't even know who she was. I just know that she's a bridesmaid. I didn't know if she was cute or not. I didn't care, actually. Didn't
matter.
Didn't matter to me. It was, related to the wedding. Then we get to the actual wedding and we had to go buy wine. It was like a 5-day wedding. So the wedding was like on a Saturday, but I think everybody got into town like on a Tuesday because everybody traveled from out of town. And we had this rental house that everybody stayed in. Like all the groomsmen and the bridesmaid like stayed in for like 5 days on big bonfires every night. So we had to go get wine, and her and I got paired up to go get wine. And I was like, man, she's kind of cute. And she knew a little bit about wine, and wine was like one of my bigger passions. It's always been my biggest passion, but I was really just kind of getting into wine at that time. And so we kind of had a good conversation about wine on the way to this wine store, and we had fun picking out wine together. And I thought she was really cool. And then that night we had a bonfire or whatever, and we kind of hung out and stuff like that. But anyway, during the wedding, all the guys were Green Berets, and they were like, they knew that putting on a uniform is like the hardest thing for me to do because my shit's in a duffel bag. Like, you can tell I'm not a very like organized kind of character. So they were like, dude, you know that like we're doing Class A's for the fucking wedding. And these are all Green Berets. So we wear the paratrooper boots. I was still in the unit, but I had a maroon beret. But we still use the airborne jump wings and your uniform if you ever do have to put it on, which is why when I saw Tim Kennedy with a fucked up beret in DC, I was thinking in my mind, I was like, damn, dude, like I get it. You're not a uniform guy, but like I was always taught that when the Green Berets or, you're in group, when you put your uniform on, you got to be better than everybody else. Because rule number 1 in special forces is always look cool. Rule number 2 is always know where you're at. Rule number 3 is if you don't know where you're at, look cool and pretend like you know where you're at. Yeah. Those are the 3 rules. So like look cool, right?
And your Class A's are probably in a duffel bag.
They were. And so like this is like on a Tuesday.
And when was the last time you looked at your ribbons?
Oh, it was awful. So now we're in Florida in like a place I don't even know. And I'm having to track down my Class A uniform on Tuesday. I had to like Saturday to get it. And I think there was another dude that was coming down like on that Thursday from Bragg. And I was like, look, go in my closet, in my apartment, grab this and bring it with you on the plane. Don't forget my jump boots, blah, 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 blah. So he grabs all this shit, brings it to me. He gets there like on Thursday. I take it to the dry cleaners on Friday. And I spend like all day Friday trying to get my uniform ready. And I was kind of like looking at all the other guys. I'm like, when are y'all going to get your shit together? Because I know y'all shit ain't together either. But, I was like, well, whatever, fuck them. I'm going to look cool because I'm the only one that's really not a Green Beret. So I've got to look extra cool, so I don't get cheesed on. The whole thing was a joke. I'm the only one that shows up to the fucking wedding in a full fucking paratrooper class A, dude.
No way.
The only, and I'm the groomsman. So all the groomsmen got like matching shit.
Oh my
Which
God.
I bought, by the way, because they gave us originally given us a list of what they wanted us to wear, and I'd bought that, and then they changed it to we're just going to wear class A's. So they did it as a joke, just to be funny. So now I'm super embarrassed because now it's this beautiful wedding, and I look like the fucking guy, and they just think this is the funniest thing in the world.
It is the funniest thing in the world, Eric.
And I'm just like, you motherfucker. So to get them back, I take this Class A uniform off after the wedding, and I've got a tie wrapped around my head and a Ron Paul t-shirt with my green pants tucked into my paratrooper boots, and that's what I wore to the reception. I'm sitting down at this table with all these people I don't know. Come to find out, it was Ashley's parents. And they're laughing at me, and I'm telling all these jokes, and they're like, "Oh, have you met our daughter?" And I'm like, "No." And then they bring, her over. And I was like, "Oh, that's your parents." And she's like, "What are you doing staying with my parents?" I was like, "Fuck, this is where I got set," blah, blah, blah. So anyway, her parents had invited me over for Christmas because they live in St. Augustine, Florida. Again, we're like 4.5 hours away from St. Augustine, Florida. So it's so random that I meet somebody in Pensacola that lives on the other side of Florida.
They invited you over for Christmas because you're funny?
Well, yeah, they were like, "What are you doing for Christmas?" And I was like, "I don't know." And they were like, "Do you have family?" And I was like, "Kind of, blah, blah, blah." But like everybody does their own thing. And they were like, "Well, if you're in St. Augustine, you should come over and have Christmas dinner with us or whatever if you don't have plans." And I was like, "Sure." And then I find out that this is her parents. And so anyway, I ended up like going to her house. And of course, we go on a couple of dates while I'm there for that 2-week break. And we ended up kind of like seeing each other off and on. But she makes it very clear she doesn't want anything to do with the Green Berets. Like, her best friend's married a Green Beret. She doesn't want anything to do with them. And I'm trying to explain to her it's not like that. Matter of fact, we go on this date like in mid-January. I think it was mid-January. She might have went back to France. I don't know the time frame. Maybe it was February. Doesn't matter. I take her to Jacksonville Beach just for the day to go play on the beach. And I'm trying to explain to her, like, dude, it's not like the movies. It's not like there's a pager that goes off and you just up and go. Like, I mean, they'll tell you have a deployment, but they give you time and get all your shit together. Dude, as I'm telling her this, my phone rings and it's a government number.
We got to go now.
Dude, it's crazy. This was like, I think this was like a Tuesday or Wednesday. So like, I can't remember. It was like the middle of the week though. It was so random. We're at the beach. And I pick up the phone. They're like, "Yo, Tansey, do you have a government credit card?" And I was like, "I do." And he was like, "Dude, there's a SEAL team that's ramping up to do this op overseas. And they need some rehearsals done. And we're going to do a link up op in the desert outside of Las Vegas." They're like, "Can you be there like tomorrow?" And I was like, "What?" And they're like, "Dude, it's just like, it's go time. It's classified. We can't really talk. I can't like give you all the information. All I can tell you is that the SEAL team is doing something and they need some guys to do this rehearsal for a link up." I was like, this is the randomest shit in the world. So I tell her, I'm like, "Yo, like, I'm so sorry, but I got to go home and pack. I got to leave tomorrow. I don't know how long I'm going." It ended up being like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. But anyway, so she was like, "I'm definitely not doing that." So I spent like about a year just kind of dating her off and on, just kind of hooking up every once in a while. She would meet me like in Orlando, or she met me at Fort Benning for something one time. And, just when our paths could cross, we'd cross them, but we weren't like locked in hardcore dating or anything like that. And then she ends up moving to Raleigh. And I was like, "You know what? I'm going to get out of the military and I'm going to chase this woman." So I get out.
Didn't tell
anybody, really. Yeah. I didn't even tell myself. Like, I just got called into a recruiter's office, I need to re-enlist. And I was like, "You know what? I'm not going to do it. I'm going to get out." I was like, "I'm out in 6 months. I'm going to get out in 6 months. Watch this." So I get out. I move up here. Don't tell her. I get myself a rental house. And I get myself all moved in over a weekend. And then I call her like on a Tuesday. And I'm like, "Guess what?
I'm out of the military.
I live like 4 miles from you." She's like, "What?" And
it was like, meant to be.
"Bro, I moved like 4 miles down the road from you. Like, what's going on?" Like, I got out. She's like, "Well, we talk for hours, on the phone, giggling, laughing, all the stuff, and I can't wait to meet up with you. And I've missed you and like, blah, blah. And so I'm thinking about you." And she's like, "Well, dude, this is where it gets like super awkward. I kind of have a boyfriend now."
He's a SEAL.
No. She's like, "I got a boyfriend now." And I was like, "Oh, damn." She's like, "Yeah." And I was like, well, how long you been dating this guy? She's like, couple months.
Wow.
And I was like, is it serious? She's like, I mean, no, I mean, you know, while I like him, you know, he was nice and everything. And she's like, but like, I feel bad because like, you're in town now. And I was like, well, hey, you want to be with me, right? And she's like, I mean, I don't know what I want now. And I was like, I'll take care of the boyfriend. Like, that's all you have to say. She's like, what does that mean? I'm like, it's cool. So I go to this dude's work. He's like a general manager of a restaurant. I'm like, yo, can I talk to you really quick? And bring him outside. I was like, look, dude.
Does he know who you are?
No.
No idea.
No. He has no idea.
Oh my Lord.
And I'm like, hey man, listen, like, I was hooking up with this girl long before you. I was in the military. Now I'm out and I'm here and I think we're going to make a relationship. I know that you guys are dating. I just don't want to cheat on you. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be honest with you, but like, I'm going to pursue it.
100%
I'm going to win. And
if you don't, I have a special set of skills.
No, I was like, we can either do this behind your back or, you know, and he was like, what are you talking about? And so he calls her and she's like, oh, so like, you know, he kind of hangs it up or whatever. And yeah, that was it.
What did she fucking say to him?
What did she say to him?
When he said, some guy came by my work.
Like, he was on the phone, like, he was there. Like, we were together. And he's like, what is going on?
He called her while you were still there?
Mm-hmm. He's like, what is going on? I'm just like kind of standing there, like twiddling my thumbs, you know, and she's like, yeah, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. You know, he's like, this is the most fucked up thing, you know, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's it, dude. So that was the end of their relationship and the beginning of my relationship with her. We got married about 2 years later. We got married.
Did you wear your class A's?
We had 5 kids. What?
Did you wear your class A's?
No, God, no. But all those same groomsmen were at my wedding,
right?
And we all laughed. We laughed really, really hard about it. Matter of fact, one of them had been blown up in Afghanistan and was crippled, and so we got married in a vineyard, and we had to organize plywood so that he could roll his wheelchair out to the wedding and everything. And so we make all these plans, and then he's like, you know what? Like, this is like a night before the wedding, or like 2 days before the wedding. He was like, hey man, I'm gonna walk for your wedding. And I was like, what? And he's like, I'm going to try to walk for your wedding. Like, I've been practicing. He's like, I'm going to walk for your wedding. And I was like, motherfucker, one, this is all about me. Yeah. Like, don't you be acting like no goddamn war hero in my fucking, my wedding. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's like, you know, I was like, if you walk, I don't want to see no fucking limping. Like, you know, if somebody asks you why your back hurts, you tell them because you work at like Lowe's or some shit. Like, you know, don't be telling them you got blown up 6 months ago. You know, we laughed. And so, yeah, ended up having to reuse that plywood for something else. But
did he walk?
Yeah, he did. He did a great job. Yeah, I ended up making out with one of the bridesmaids and maybe hooking up with one of them. You know, being a war hero that he was, you know, piece of shit. But I'm just kidding. He's a great guy. But yeah, now we've been married for 5 kids. But that's the story of how I won my wife over.
That's cool,
dude. That's a crazy story.
I have, my wife is a hustler like I am, and she's like my rock. And when the coffee shop was a side hustle, and I was just roasting coffee, I just wanted to sell it online. That was it.
Right.
And I asked the city to what I needed to do if somebody wanted to come by and sample, and they said, well, you've got to put a bathroom in.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's the most expensive shit I got to do. So I went home that night and told my wife, I said, we're going to open up a coffee shop. She's like, okay.
Okay.
And just so
yeah,
we started doing it. But it is very nice to have somebody at home that supports you. And then, of course, I support her just as well. And and the encouragement. And it's very nice.
It's hard for me to, you know, I guess I figure why the divorce rates are like 51%. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but like,
I can't imagine.
Because people are selfish.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, if you find somebody that you love, like, then you should love them. And like, you should, you know, and I know it's cliche or whatever, but like, you know, love them like Jesus loved the world, which is like a weird, like, I'm not trying to be religious or anything,
no,
but like if you studied the Bible, even if you don't believe in it, but if you studied it from a leadership perspective, like if you look how Jesus is portrayed in the Bible, and I believe it, but if you see how Jesus loved the church and how he supported the church and how he supported all those around him, you know, it's you know, if you treat your significant other one, it's just a great example of leadership. And it saddens me because I'm not, like I said, I don't go to church or anything like that, but it saddens me that people treat their significant others in a way that's not very loving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If
And I'll
you
hear
really-
somebody
if
say
you-
something and I'll be like, if you really love this person, why would you say that? Like,
Exactly. Like, why would
why
you
would you fucking say that?
say something mean and hateful to them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
It
understand that either. You
And
know,
it's
It
so
bugs the
normalized.
shit out of me to hear somebody talk shit about their significant other, and it's like,
then get the
dude,
fuck out.
why are you even married if you're talking that way?
Yeah.
I
about
was getting on a plane last week when I went to Montana to go on Andy Stump's podcast, and I'm getting on the plane, and I guess these couples were traveling together, real old people, and she went like, "Where's Jake at? Is he coming? Are y'all not sitting together?" And she was like, "No, his back's hurting him or something or another, and he was too tired to get up out of his seat." She's like, "He'll find his seat and he'll figure it out." And she goes, "Well, what's the matter with his back?" And she goes, "Oh, I don't know. You know him. He walks 5 miles. He's got to complain about everything, and now he's going to whine the rest of the trip." And I'm just sitting there going,
Damn,
I would
what a
never
relationship.
say some shit
No.
behind my wife's back like
No.
that. Like that is
Yeah.
so.
Now we'll
fucking
razz
mean.
each other. You know, we'll get on each
That's
other.
one thing.
And she's also my worst critic, because if I
Give
say
him
something or
give
do
him some
something,
fire, Jim.
what?
Give Eric some fire. He needs a little fire.
Oh, I'm good.
Are you good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I just
It's-
needed to.
It's just if I say or do something, she'll tell me that was fucked up.
Yeah, she'll do that, and like I'll be like, "Let me see them titties," you know what I mean? Or I'll be like, I mess around but I'm never mean, right? Like I'm never like, "You bitch," or
Yeah.
"Shut the fuck up."
How could
or,
you ever? But people do that all the time.
all the fucking
I don't
time?
get
yeah.
it.
My wife is
Why-
such a bitch. I'm like, what?
Why
Like
would
that
you-
makes me hurt. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
"Ugh."
Why would you be with someone that would say to you, "You're a bitch"?
Yeah.
Why would you stay with them? That's ridiculous. They don't love you. If they loved you, they would never say that.
I'm glad you guys feel the same genre because, like, a lot of times, like, I mean, a lot of people that I'm friends with,
No,
like,
you're
will-
right.
will say shit like where they're just like, "Oh, that," or they'll argue about the story. Like guys trying to tell a story or girls trying to tell a story, and they're like, "That's not how it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're fucking stupid."
It wasn't.
That's not how-"
It wasn't 10
And
minutes.
it's
It was
just-
5 minutes.
It was 5 minutes, and I'm just like, "Oh my god!" I'm so glad. If my wife's telling a story that I don't really agree that that's how it's said, I might jokingly be like, "I have a different story, but continue," and I'll leave it at that. But I'm not gonna sit there and argue while my
Yeah,
wife's trying to
yeah,
entertain people
yeah,
or
it's
something like that.
ridiculous.
I don't know. Like I really I try to teach my kids. I'm like, look, and here's the other thing is like, you hang around with all these little girls, and their dads will say like, "Oh, the guy's picking on you because he likes you. He's just flirting with you, or he's being mean."
That's bullshit.
I'm like, let's not normalize that. So I tell my kids, I'm like, look, we don't do that. If you like somebody, if you're friends with somebody, we don't. That like it's fun to play and goof around, but like, that's not love. That's not, if you really like somebody or you love
You're
somebody,
not mean to them.
you're not mean to them. We're
Yeah.
not gonna, punch them in the stomach. And if you really want to flirt with somebody, then you get the chair for them. If you're gonna flirt with somebody, get the door for them. If you're gonna flirt with them, tell them how beautiful their hair looks.
Yeah.
If you're gonna flirt with them, tell them you like their jeans. We're not gonna flirt with girls by pulling their hair or flicking their ears or
Maybe just pinching the butt.
well, yeah, honk the
That's an entirely different thing, though.
scoop dunk. That's my favorite. Where you scoop them and dunk them.
Yeah.
Here's my favorite thing to do. I like my wife. She's like when she washes her hair, she closes her eyes. I go in for the double scoop dunk. Just, pow, dude. That's not mean though. That's not mean.
No.
That's flirting. That's a good healthy flirt.
We were watching a thing on Netflix last night about these young kids in Michigan. It was some little small Beale City. I think it was Beale City.
Okay.
And this little girl had this boyfriend, and they had known each other since they were like second grade, and they grew up together and had a relationship. And all of a sudden, they're getting texts. Some unknown number is texting them,
I saw that.
and it was horrible. I mean, the shit they were saying to this little girl, and she maybe 14 or 15 years old, telling her to kill herself, that he doesn't love her. He wants, oral and all this other stuff. And it went on for over a year, and the cops got involved. They had like the FBI involved trying to figure it out.
You know who it was?
Who?
It ended up, I don't want to give
Go
it,
ahead,
well,
just do it.
Just give
it
away.
was the girl's mama. And
What a
the stuff she was saying,
bitch.
and then after the lady's already gone to jail, she served her time. I don't even think she went for 2 years. Should have been
No.
more than that, if you ask me. But she's sitting there when they're interviewing her, and she's like, they asked her, "What about the ones where you told her to kill herself?" Oh, that wasn't me. And then they show the detectives, yeah, we have no reason to believe that there were anybody else texting these things but her.
Text messages on your phone are forever.
But we were watching it and I was like, how could she do that to her own child?
People are
And I looked at Karen, I said, we have the perfect marriage.
Right.
I said, I love you.
I love you so much.
It's like, what the hell? But the dad.
Except for that text this morning, why don't you kill yourself?
Yeah.
Well,
it's like that story in my book with the deaf girl's mom. You know what I mean? Like, well, I have 3 hearing kids. Why should I learn sign language for the one that can't hear? You know, it's just like I don't understand. Yeah, I mean, there's just bad people. I think this world, needs a lot of love, and they need it at home. But
it's because those that are like us. I mean, not us, because obviously we're assholes. but most people like us don't speak up.
Yeah, you're right.
If I'm out with a couple, in the past, if I was dating someone and I'm out with a couple and that's going on, I never go out with them again.
I don't either.
Ever. Because all that's doing is saying what you're doing is all right.
Yeah. I mean, it's like uncomfortable too.
Yeah.
Like it's weird to sit there while, but and owning a bar, I think I saw it more than most just because there's so many people that come in throughout the day. But it's mind blowing. The what people think a healthy relationship looks like, and hopefully, we homeschool our kids and everything. I always joke that my wife and I love that our kids are like, "Ooh, mom and dad, get a room," versus, "Hey, mom, take it to the room." Yeah, you know what I mean. Where dad and mom are fighting, and the kids are like, "Hey, can y'all take that back to the bedroom?" Exactly. I like it where our kids are like, "Ew, get a room," versus like take it to the room, and I think that's what a healthy relationship.
I can still grow. Courtney's 30, and I can still get her to do that. We'll be at the baker, and I'll be doing something with Carrie, and she's like, "Oh my God, stop!"
Yeah, like as I was leaving here, my wife and I were kissing in the door, and my son was like, "All right, okay, all right, we're out of here." You were talking about relighting the cigar. I don't have a lot of cigar knowledge. When I got my sommelier diploma and my certified specialist of wine diploma, those are so the sommelier and certified specialist of wine is beer, wine, spirits, and cigars. A lot of people don't know that. And cigars. I think there's only like 5 or 6 questions, and I don't really remember my knowledge, but I took a few cigar classes. And one of the cigar classes I took, the guy said that 99.999% of everybody who smokes a cigar burns the tobacco. And they light their cigar wrong. 99.9%.
That's correct. Yeah.
So I've always tried to use as little bit of fire. And the goal is when you're puffing to not see those flames.
That's correct.
When you're puffing because your
cigar's too hot.
Yeah, you're singeing the cigar. So like I try to, it looks like it's unlit-ish, but I'm trying to like purposefully not relight it because I'm afraid I'll singe the cigar.
You're doing great. I didn't realize you could suck as hard as you could suck.
You put a golf ball in a water hose.
Brought it back.
There's a guy on YouTube called Kirby Allison.
Okay.
And he goes to London all the time with the Davidoff cigar shop there. And
he's very sophisticated.
Hazakian, it's this man, he's probably 90 years old. It's him and his son that they have operated that store forever. And they show the proper way to light a cigar. And this 90-year-old man uses matches.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, he pulls it off. I would be sitting there. I'd have like 20 matches before I'd ever get this old
I
man's
light all my
using
cigars typically with matches at my house. I only use matches, probably because I learned it in the same class. That guy probably taught the class to the guy that taught me the class. But the torch is easy. But yeah, the cigars are pretty cool. I mean, not like when I started my sommelier and CSW journey, like I learned that it really wasn't about the beverages, it was about enjoying everything. So like if I get an apple, like I will smell the apple, I'll rub it really hard, then smell it, and I'll bite into it and smell it, and really
it's about the experience.
It's about the experience in all things, and it's fun. That's what the sommelier course, a lot of people just think you're a glorified alcoholic, but I think more than anything that those courses teach you to enjoy the finer things, and it's not about how much something costs. It's about just enjoying the moment and the experience. Like, this is probably not on paper the best cigar I've ever had, but I will never forget this punch. If somebody ever says, have you ever had the punch Corojo, I'll be like, yes, of course I've had that because I was on this awesome podcast and I was in this room and we got to tell these cool stories.
I've got to where I won't smoke. I'll do one of those counterfeit or one of the Monte Cristo clones.
Oh yeah.
When I'm here by myself, I won't smoke a decent one because since we've been doing the podcast, it's like I don't enjoy it.
Right. You know, some of those like those generic, I guess you call them generics, but like some of those hand rolled Nicaraguan cigars, you know, those were all Cuban cigar makers that fled. You know, once America stopped buying Cubans, they were like, shit, and so they moved to Nicaragua. So it's all those like really great Cuban cigar makers, you know, are making those cigars. So
that's right.
If you ever see like, you know, generic Nicaraguan wrap cigars, like a lot of times you will be thoroughly pleased with how good the cigar was. But I really enjoy cigars and beverage. I think the cigar and coffee. I've never had a cigar in mocha coffee before. I'm not gonna lie, this was actually like a really good fucking pairing.
After a good steak, and then of course, which I've always got coffee. So
do you ever make coffee rubs for your steak? Like a dry rub? Oh my gosh, so fucking good. We did.
Right? There's a guy in Mebane, Fat Man, and he smokes barbecue and all that stuff. And we had him. He was out with his trailer at the shop, and he came by the week before and got some coffee, and he made a coffee rub, and that was some of the best brisket I've ever had.
Yeah, oh man, I bet it was.
I put it on my beef ribs. I do coffee rubs on my pretty much anything beef. I put a coffee rub on. I don't do it on pork, but I'm a big fan of coffee rubs. They're hard to find though. I mean, I don't find a lot of dry rubs with.
Yeah, there's not a lot.
But I do enjoy. I enjoy that a lot. I like all those things. Actually, I'm writing a book right now. It'll probably go nowhere, but it's literally like it's a book about a special forces guy that works for a child trafficking, human trafficking thing. Yeah, fiction, completely fiction. But his thing is he goes on. He's into the finer things, and so he goes on these human.
So he's got a little James Bond going on.
Yeah, so like like he kind of like goes in and like rescues children and everything, but then he kind of like dips out and goes and gets a nice bottle of wine. He hangs out with all these elitists. Anyway, in the book, he ends up finding out that some of these elitists that he rolls with
are involved in child trafficking.
Are in child, yeah. So it kind of circles. It circles back. But the reason I write the book is because I love. And all the stories of him finding the finer things are actually true stories. That part's true in my own life of like experiences where, you know, I always say that there are two types of elites, right? And I've hung out with, because I was a private sommelier for some very wealthy people. There's two types of elites. There's the elite people that really do like the finer things. And the finer things is the experience. It doesn't matter what the cigar necessarily is or how much it costs. It's everything in it. And then there are the elites that have to do everything for flash. So if they're going to smoke a cigar, it has to be a Cuban cigar, even though they have no idea.
Yeah.
You know what they're smoking.
We've got some Cubans.
Or they have to have the 100-acre wood, the 100-point wines. But there's these times where you travel to just outside of Asheville and Swannanoa. And you roll into a swine farm and you find out that the swine farmer is actually really obsessed with wine as well as he is with pork. And he has these very obscure Chilean wines that on paper are probably fucking terrible and faulty to a T because of, they have like green bell pepper aromas and all these things that, a wine critic would probably cringe after. But he has dedicated his life to these perfect wine pairings with the pork, and they're so obscure and they're so ridiculous. And the wines are super cheap. But I literally, unbeknownst to me, going to this swine farm because there was nothing else to do in Swannanoa with the kids, finding this list of wine that this guy has in this dinky ass pork shop. Now I'm going home with tons of pork and these obscure, very cheap, inexpensive $8, $9 wines and having this amazing experience over, farm raised, this farm that I got to go to and see and having this wine. And so the book is more like about the finer details of elitists, like being an elite. So it's kind of fun. And then you find out that the real elites that like all the grandiose shit are the fakes. The fake, the child traffickers.
I wish I could, and I've gotten better as I've gotten older, but I'm like, when I order a hamburger, meat, bread, ketchup, I've always been that way.
Okay,
And
yeah.
I don't want seasoning on my steak. I don't use steak sauce or anything. I just eat the steak. But I wish I could try things and enjoy it, or try to enjoy it without like throwing up or something like that.
Dude, I love like wine reduction, like mushroom wine reduction sauce with a nice wine that you make a nice wine reduction and put that over your steak. Like, I think that's a lot of fun. I'll do some coffee rubs on my steak. Building the bark on the beef ribs and trying different things to different little recipes. I like trying new things. When I taught wine classes and stuff like that, people would always say, we're like, of course, like when you get to the end of a wine class, everybody wants to ask you, what do you think about this wine? Or what do you think about that wine? And my answer has always been, and I made this answer up myself, I trademark the term, but I say every wine or cigar or whatever has a time and a place, and it's your job to figure out what the time and the place is for that beverage. And so people always follow it up with like, well, what do you think about Duplin? And I'm like, well, have you ever had a bottle of Duplin in a hot tub with 2 hot chicks? It's the best bottle of wine I've ever had. But I really do believe that there's a time and a place for all beverages and for all things, and it's your job in life to find those time and a place. And if you really look at it that way, if you try to find the perfect time and place to pair something, life becomes that much more enjoyable. Like a hot dog and a dry rosé while watching baseball. Like a dry rosé wine and a really cool hot dog and a baseball game is a perfect pairing that nobody's ever thought of. Right. Like it's just a great pairing. Yeah. I accidentally stumbled on it, but it's such a fun pairing. And so then I went into this whole month of trying to come up with not new hot dogs, but trying all the different hot dogs, like California dog versus a Chicago dog versus a New York dog versus like Florida even has their own rendition of a hot dog. Some of these have coleslaw and ketchup. Florida dog has mayonnaise on it. That's weird, but pairing beers with these different, like the Boston Lager with a Chicago dog with the caramelized onions, it's a perfect pairing. But a Boston Lager and the California dog, which has like coleslaw and a crisp pickle on the top, it doesn't go very well at all. Yeah. So yeah, it's just that's why I like being a sommelier and a certified specialist of wine, because it's so much fun to enjoy everything, like whether it's an orange or an apple or a cigar or a wine in a perfect place and perfect setting.
We've got a bottle shop in Burlington. I think he came from Raleigh. I can't remember Ted and Laura Benda, but they have the Mini Dingo in Burlington. And I think Ted had a brewery in Raleigh at one time, but people go in there and they'll say, hey, Ted, we're having a dinner party tonight. This is what we're serving. What have you got? They'll go, and he will like pick out all kinds of stuff.
That is so much fun too. That is my favorite part about wine.
I wish my palate was that advanced. Now coffee, I'm getting there. But
no, it really is that advanced. You just have to let your ego go, and you have to like let yourself go and believe in it. Everything is it's all subjective, right? I grew up on a dirt road, very dusty dirt road, and at the end of the dirt road was a chicken farm, and my dad and I used to jog down this dirt road and back almost every day. And the closer we would get to the chicken farm, the more chicken shit you would smell, obviously. And it was just the dirt, the way the powdery, dusty dirt was. It was kind of chalky, kind of clay. It was just a different kind of dirt mixed with chicken shit. Well, if you taste a wine from Saint Joseph, which is in the Côte de Rhône region, the Rhône region of France, southern France, it's very sweaty. Some sommeliers will say horsehair, sweaty horse, barnyard. I have all these different reflections. That sounds ridiculous to you. You're like, that sounds ugly. It sounds terrible. How do you even tell? What does a sweaty horse smells like? I didn't grow up around horses, so I don't know. But I will tell you this. I was at the Angus barn, and I had just gotten my sommelier diploma, and I hadn't really drank a lot of Saint Joseph Rhône wines, but I was ordering this tomahawk steak, and the sommelier brought me a Saint Joseph Rhône wine out. And when I smelled that wine, that particular Rhône wine, I closed my eyes and I went through the gambit, and it smelled identical to that dirt road and that chicken farm. And that to this day. So when somebody says barnyardy to me, that's what barnyard is to me. Now, if you bit an orange and somebody told you it was an apple, an apple is always going to taste like an orange to you. And that's not
Yeah.
wrong because that's just what you're about it. So when people smell something or taste something, they're too afraid to say what they really think it smells like because they're going to be wrong. But it's not wrong. If you're ever on a plane, on a C-130, you were a pilot of such, I've been told, I don't know if you told that, maybe you can relate to it or not, but they say, if you smell something on the plane, say something.
Oh yeah.
If you smell something, say something. Because if I smell something, I smell something burning, all of a sudden,
But everyone
you smell burning.
But everyone's afraid of ridicule.
Everybody's, yeah.
And that's just like you taste a wine, you think, oh, this feels like this to me. But you don't say that.
You're going to be wrong.
Because you could be wrong. But are you really wrong? If it's that way to you, that doesn't mean it's wrong.
Right.
It's just not what this person over here thinks.
Right. And so if you smell something on a plane, you're like, I smell something, and you might go, oh, I'm the pilot, I know this plane inside and out, that's just oil, or that's just
hydraulic fluid.
Hydraulic fluid. But I might go, do you guys smell something burning? And then you go, oh shit.
That's fine.
I do smell something fucking burning. And then you're like, that's electrical. And now we're saving lives because we're tracking that, and so it's the power of suggestion, right? And so if I smell something and I tell you that I smell this, like I might say, I smell, I smell rose water, like a water, like water that's had rose petals in it or something. And then you might go, holy shit, I never thought of that. Yeah. But like I chalked, do you remember when your teacher used to clap or erasers and you would smell that chalk? If you can remember that, and you'll probably never forget it. Once you've lived it once, you don't forget it.
My teacher never did it. She made us do it.
Yeah. Well, go buy a Loire Valley wine from Loire Valley, France, and smell it. And I guarantee you, if you've ever smelled a chalkboard eraser, you'll go, what the fuck? Rieslings are my favorite. You can go do this one right now. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can go do this right
Riesling
now.
over
You could go buy a Riesling right now. And just go do it right now. Go buy an $8 Riesling. And tell me you don't smell pool inner tube. You know the floaties that you used to blow up?
I'm going to have to try that.
You ever done that? You know what I'm talking about? When you pinch the little the plastic nozzle and you blow up the little floaties on your head?
It's close to a garden hose.
Close to a garden. Yes, exactly that. Petrol-y. I mean, the Europeans will call it petrol. I call it a pool toy.
Yeah.
You cannot smell a bottle of Washington State Riesling or even German Riesling. And don't go crazy. Don't go get like Gruner Veltliner. I mean, a Gewürztraminer or, like some obscure variety of Riesling. Like, just go get a regular bottle that says Riesling on it. Smell that glass of wine. And I promise you'll be like, I'm a sommelier now. I get it. Like, I fucking did it.
I'm going to have to try that.
I didn't have to take
Riesling
the test.
is what I always gravitate toward a Riesling if I'm having wine, which I spent all my time in the service was in Germany.
Yeah. So yeah.
That's what
a
they
great
drink.
bottle. It's still one of my favorite grape varietals because it can be dry, it can be sweet, it can be sparkling, it can be, all things to all people. Really, Riesling is like the special forces of grape varietals, in my opinion.
What do you want? Where do you want to be in 5 years, buddy?
Where do I want to be in 5 years?
You, your family.
Easy. I want to be in the mountains on a 10 to 20 acre plot of land. And I just want to be with my family in a nice little house, secluded from everyone. No homeowners associations, no, I just want to be with my 5 kids that we home birth and homeschool.
Do you see that? You see that?
Amen.
I've always been working for it, but yeah.
Can you feel it?
Yeah. I'm starting to feel it.
That's awesome.
But also, like, if you look at my bank account right now, it's hard to feel it when you can see my bank account right now. It's like, man, it'd be nice to get paid from this book at some point. But yeah, I think that's where I want to be in 5 years. Like, just enjoying life and the finer things of life, and just enjoying my family and kids, and that's all I want to do. I mean, I'm not trying to chase the corporate world. I'm not trying to be better or, I like to write, so I will continue to write. Whether those books do anything or not, I don't know. I don't care. I'm not trying to chase the Hollywood dream either, but I would like to write. I like to entertain. So if I can do that somehow, that's all I want to do. That's why I see myself.
Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us today, buddy.
Thank you guys. Did I bore you guys too much?
Huh?
Did I bore you guys too much?
No. Oh yeah, it was terrible. That's why we went an hour 21 and it felt like 5 minutes.
It did.
So today we smoked the Rare Corojo by Punch.
So good.
Yes.
Did you enjoy it, Jim?
I did.
Eric?
I'll give that one a.
Really do like it.
I think I'm going to give it a 10 just because of the company.
This is like how much? This is an $8 cigar?
A what?
How much this cost? $8?
I can't remember what I paid for this.
These aren't expensive. The smaller version used to be, I know, like $6-7. But this is a great cigar at an inexpensive price. It really is. This is under $10 for sure.
I love it. I think it's a great, and I thought it paired super well with the mocha coffee. Before you go though, I have to bring up one thing because you have Salvation coffee.
Yeah,
this is something I learned in the sommelier course as well. Have you ever put a dash of salt?
Yeah.
In your coffee to be able to really taste?
When I was at Fort Benning, I had CQ duty. You always had to have the first sergeant's coffee, and first sergeant, and he wanted salt.
Yeah, just a pinch.
And
it creates a chemical reaction and it knocks down all the acidity.
Softens the water a little bit too. At Fort Benning, who knows what we were drinking.
Yeah, like if I really want to taste good coffee, I always put a pinch of salt in there because then you can really, you don't have to worry about the acidity, which is going to hit the sides of your tongue and make you kind of salivate, and you kind of lose a sense of the flavor.
Like cigars. If a cigar is
super
acidic, then you're going to create a lot of saliva in your mouth because your tongue, correct me if I'm wrong, is separated into different taste sensations. Yep. Is that correct?
Yes, you have sweet in the front,
right?
Sour in the very middle,
right?
And acidity on the two sides,
right?
So if you ever have a glass or like this can right here, if you drink out of whiskey glasses, I don't know if you have one here. I can show it to you. So 99.9% of whiskey glasses are fake. You can go to whiskeywear.com, which was a site that I created a long time ago, and we still sell a lot of stuff on there. But we made custom real whiskey glasses. And this is not a real whiskey glass. And here's what I mean by real whiskey glass. And this is important because you're spending a lot of money on whiskey and bourbon, right? Or rum or whatever liquor that you want to do. If you can feel this right here, can you feel this little lip right there? You feel that little lip?
I'm throwing that shit out today.
Do you see this right here? No, you don't have to throw it out, but like I'm going to tell you what's going on. You see that?
Little rim.
I call it the speed bump of death. And here's why we call it the speed bump of death, right? We just said that the middle of your tongue is where you get all the sour and bitterness, right?
Is that messing with getting your tongue?
When you drink the bourbon, why do we drink bourbon over corn liquor? Just straight corn liquor. Why do we drink bourbon over corn liquor? It tastes
better.
Because it's sweeter.
Yeah.
Because it's the whole point of bourbon, the whole purpose of it was the caramelized sugar in the wood. That's why we char the oak barrel. It's because it's sweeter. That's why everybody loves bourbon, because it is sweet, right? It's not sweet like ice cream, but it's sweeter than just moonshine corn liquor.
Yeah.
Corn whiskey. Well, if that's what the essence we're trying to bring out, that's the best part of it. That's why we drink it, is the sweetness. When you drink this and that fluid hits the speed bump and goes directly to the middle of your tongue, we're not getting all the sweetness. We're getting the bitter first.
That makes a lot of sense.
So we're missing it. So what you want, Riedel glasses, and they're really not that expensive, but this is like $1.25, whereas your Riedel is probably $10. But that's going to have that it's not going to have that speed bump, so that the sweet is going to hit the tip of your tongue, and now we can really enjoy the $20, $40, $60, $80 bottle of bourbon. It's such a tragedy because people will be like, well, that's so snobby, Eric, that you're concerned about the glass. And I'm like, well, no, you just bought an $80 bottle of Buffalo Trace or whatever. I don't remember. I don't know how much shit costs these days. And then I want to get the most out of that. That's like buying a lawnmower, like a Toro lawnmower or like a steel chainsaw and putting a dull blade on it. Like, what's the fuck? It's not snobby to put a fucking badass blade on your shit, right? So like, why not get the most out of your liquor by getting a glass that complements your liquor and makes your liquor taste, get every bit of your money's worth. So anyway.
It's all about the moment.
It's all about that moment, man.
And that helps that moment.
Yeah. And not going through the motions, right? Like, in military, you go through theatrics. Like, I hate when people go to the range, they look left and they look right. And it's like, you wouldn't do that in a gunfight. Like, if we're going to get in a gunfight, I'm going to look left and I'm going to look right. And if you're there, I'm just going to stop my barrel before it goes to you, or I might go over your head. But I'm not going like this. Like, that makes no sense. I've never been in a gunfight where I'm like running around like this. No, I'm running around like, like this, So like, why on the range do we go bang, bang?
Pat McNamara did a little video on it. He calls it industrialized retardation. He's like,
it's so,
we don't do that.
And I probably learned it because T-Mac Inc., he teaches a lot of classes. Yeah. Probably, all these instructors, they get the same This is the same speech is from the same guy, so I'm sure. I didn't coin that term,
Yeah.
but I think that range theatrics, but like beverage theatrics, cigar theatrics, like there's a lot of things that people do and they don't really know why they're doing them. They just fucking do it, and it's like, well, if you just learn how to do it the right way, you're gonna enjoy it more. So just learn how to do it correctly and have more fun with it, or just be open to new ideas. But as a sommelier, most of the time people just write you off as being like a pompous asshole. Like, no, I'm not. I'm not trying to tell you that your glass sucks. What I'm trying to tell you,
being flying for an airline, that's like being an aerial sommelier, right? You're not going to bitch about him for being a snobbery or being arrogant,
right?
It's the same thing. If you're going to do wine, if you're going to do cigars, know everything there is to know about it.
Mm-hmm. And just be open to learn and to try new things and to enjoy it. And so I love what you guys are doing, because really, when I was a cop and I try to encourage other first responders or veterans, that this was the world that I lived in. And I'm so glad I found you guys' show now, because there's nothing that takes you further away from that mindset or that those dark places than enjoying this. And I think that's why so many soldiers love bourbon, and they love it because they're searching for something that takes their mind completely. It's so much different than combat or war. This is a time where we can reflect on something and take our minds to a completely new era. And I really want to encourage the guys that, like, not only when you smoke a cigar should you look at the wrapper and the things, but I would encourage you to Google image where it came from. Google image where this cigar came from. Look at it. Look at the terrain. Look at the terroir, as they call it. Look at the mountainside. And then when you go there, this should be a journey for you. It should be a vacation. It's like, now I've seen where this come from. I see what the makers of this cigar look like. They're probably wearing overalls with no shirt. These Hispanic Hondurans, sweaty as shit. And it just makes the whole thing more appreciative. It makes you, it makes you a better person. As cheesy as that sounds, but that's why I love this industry, and having shows like this to take your mind off of everything else and just enjoy.
He's not watched an episode. We're going to have to change up. We're going to have to beef up the show now.
No, I love shows about cigars, cigars and whiskey and stuff like that. It's so cool. Coffee.
In California, the lighter roasts are big because they taste the actual fruitiness of the plant. So I don't get that. It just doesn't taste good to me.
Sure.
So, and when you roast it darker, you're getting the terroir, the dirt.
Right, the dirt
is where you're getting those flavors. And we have some coffee shops here that do the light roast and everything, and it's like, the lightest roast I have is an Ethiopian. We call it Speed Freak. And it's really good, but I will not roast it any lighter than it is. It's probably a medium roast for other shops. Mm. But I roast what sells, and our Brazil and the Colombian, you roast them dark and not like French roast, but that's what sells. People, they buy it up.
Now, when you travel, do you go to smaller roasteries like in Mexico or in Honduras? Have you ever traveled and trying some of their?
I do use when we were talking about earlier, that one cigar, that Camacho
Triple Maduro,
had Mexican tobacco in it, and our cold brew that we have, I use nothing but a Mexican bean, and because when you roast it, I've got this profile down, and it's chocolatey.
Yeah.
And it mixes well, and I sell a lot of
the
cold
highest
brew.
rated coffee in the world comes from a town in Mexico. And I'm blanking on the name, but I think it starts with an M, I believe. But it's a small little village.
Veracruz.
It's a small village. They don't really export too much, but it's the highest rated coffee bean in the world. I've never had it. I've had a bag of it, but my brother actually went there and had it. The bag was what it was actually incredible. But Mexico has some really great coffee beans.
I think they're a little.
I've never smoked a Mexican cigar though. So
that Camacho that Hollywood had.
That was Mexican.
Had Mexican tobacco.
The one that he smoked just before you got here.
That's cool.
It was really good.
Well, thank you guys so much, man, for having me on.
Bro,
I love this stuff. This stuff is my jam.
Be sure and swap information with him so you can do
one of my favorite podcasts. That I've been
on. Might get bumped up to 24 subscribers.
We might.
Dude, let's go. Let's get it. I'll share the shit out of this.
I'm Hollywood.
And I'm Jim. And this is Eric.
And this has been the Smoked Debrief.
The Smoked Debrief.
Great, Eric. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
That was great.
That was awesome, buddy.
Sorry, dude. I had to nerd out for a minute. Bye.